The most difficult moment of my career. Introverted personality, my lack of confidence, imposter syndrome, new country, different language, different job. I thought I was doing a great job as a team leader. Up to when someone in the team took the courage to come to me and say, look, I think you are a micromanager. It's very difficult for you to trust others. It's very easy for you to pick up a fight and argue with everyone around you. But bad leadership is a public health hazard. This is the leader you can be. Do you still want to become a leader? So let's start with a question. Have you ever had a bad leader? Have you ever worked for a bad boss? Let's be more specific. Incompetent, difficult, or a bully? So incompetent is someone you do not trust. Difficult is someone unpleasant to work with. And a bully is someone that treats you with no respect on purpose. So if you have experienced one of these, just raise one hand. Wow. If you have experienced two of these, raise two hands. If you have the privilege to work for all of these three categories, just stand up. Oh, you're lucky. So in the past, I had the unfortunate pleasure to work for all these three categories of bosses, of line managers, of leaders. Some were just incompetent, some were incompetent and difficult to work with. And most of the time, if you are incompetent and difficult, you tend to become a bully, even if you're not aware of. And it was miserable for everyone around those type of leaders. So because of this bad experience, I start to ask myself, what makes bad leaders? Why do bad leaders exist? It was about 9 years ago when it was the most difficult moment of my career, when I moved from Italy to the UK. I came here with my introverted personality, with my lack of confidence, with my imposter syndrome, and I had to face a new city, a new place, new country, different language, different job. At that time, I was seriously into find an answer to this question. Why do bad leaders exist? Do you think there are not enough training courses or seminars like this? There are not enough books on leadership to learn from? Just a question. How many books on leadership are now available on Amazon? Just give me some number. 50,000. 250,000. Okay, that's a big number. So if you go on Google, don't go pick up your phone now. If you go on Amazon, if you search for books with leadership or leaders in the title, you will find a bit more than 80,000 books. That's a lot, not as quite as your number. So I read some of these books, and I've learned a lot, but I wasn't necessarily satisfied with the answer to my question. Why do bad leaders exist? So I'm an engineer as well, so I believe in science. Do you believe in science? Maybe. And so I looked for scientific articles on the same topic. Do you think there are fewer or more scientific publications on leadership compared to books? More? Less? It's exactly the same number, just a bit more than 80,000 scientific articles on leadership. So in the last decade, I've been studying the most relevant articles on the field of management, leadership, and psychology to try to find an answer to these questions. What makes a good leader? What makes a bad leader? What's happened is I fell in love with the study of leadership and psychology. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you what I've discovered in my learning journey. So in science, there is a lot of research and study on when and how bad leadership, or when and how leadership goes wrong. And this is called the dark side of leadership. So the dark side of leadership is not only extremely fascinating to know about, but is extremely important for all of you as leaders to be aware of the consequences of bad leadership. So let's see a few numbers. So, for example, what's the impact on employees from bad leadership? So 65% of employees, and these are numbers that comes from a recent US survey, so 65% of employees would take a salary cut if someone fired their boss. 75% report that dealing with their boss is the most stressful part of their job, the most stressful. 80% of employees leave their job due to their boss, not the job itself. And 99% of employees reported that at least once in their career have worked for an impossible boss. So all these numbers, which are quite dramatic, they well align with the Gallup Global Earthquakes, Global Engagement Survey on the workplace, where 70% of employees are not fully engaged on their job. Reason number one, bad leadership. Bad leadership is not just an issue of loss in productivity and engagement, but it's also affecting well-being and the condition people can face when they come to work. So people can face excessive stress, they are more prone to burnout, they can have depression, sleep problems, also serious cardiovascular diseases up to heart attack. So we can simply say, actually we can brutally say, that bad leadership is a public health hazard. Do you still want to become a leader? This is the reason, of course you want, of course you do. This is the reason why you are here at Future Leaders, to do something about this. Bad leadership is a public health hazard. And all of you, in some way, have already experienced what it means to work with someone which is either impossible, a bully, someone that doesn't take all your potential onto the workplace. There are two levels to explain why leadership often goes wrong. So one is organizational level, which is related to the industry, and the other one is individual. So from an industry point of view, you study architecture, you go to university, you learn how to develop your creativity, you learn materials, all technical stuff, which is all specialistic stuff. Then let's say you get hired in an architectural practice because of your knowledge, your experience, your attitude sometimes. And then if you're good at doing your creative or technical job, then you get promoted to not doing it. You get promoted to the management level. And what's happened at the management level is all soft skills. It's all about interpersonal relationship. It's all about leading people. By the way, why you decided to become an architect? Seriously. Because you want to understand buildings. You want to understand space. You don't want to understand people. And this is the overarching issue in all our industry. Because, in construction industry, everyone that is working on a very specialistic field tends to prioritize their specialty. And therefore, no one is trained in management and leadership. Management is not part of any curriculum in any university. That's the overarching issue that is one of the causes of bad leadership. But we cannot do too much about this. What we can do, we can look at the individual level, which is everything we can do. So on the individual level, people fail at leadership for two main reasons. One is incompetence, and the other one is derailment. Incompetence is not enough of something, it's lack of something, lack of knowledge, lack of experience, lack of emotional intelligence, lack of strategic thinking. Derailment is the opposite, it's too much of something. Let's say you are a perfectionist and you become a maniac perfectionist, you become a micromanager. Let's say you are confident, you may become overconfident, you take too much risk, you don't listen to the feedback from others. So derailment and incompetence, they are both the sides of the same issue. But there is one major fundamental predictor of these two problems, and this is lack of self-awareness. Do you know yourself? Do you know your personality? Do you know your strengths and weaknesses? Do you know how you come across with others? Self-awareness makes the difference between constructive and destructive leadership. The worst leaders have very poor self-awareness. So, obvious question, what's the solution for this bad leadership problem? Guess what? Is self-awareness. So, self-awareness, from a personal point of view, I lived for about 30 years with a very naive and vague idea of what knowing myself means. I never took the time and spent energy to really realize and understand deeply who I was and who I am for real. So the good news is self-awareness is a skill that can be learned, and for leaders, it must be learned. So we split self-awareness in three major aspects. One is personality, then strengths and reputation. So personality is you need to understand your personality. Strengths, you need to focus on your strengths. And reputation, you need to understand how you come across with others. Let's start with personality. So we are all different and unique, but what makes us unique? So scientists and psychologists have all agreed that human beings all vary across 5 dimensions, the big 5 traits. The big 5 traits spell the acronym OCEAN. So O stands for open to experience, compared to be more closed. C stands for conscientiousness. Are you organized versus you are more disorganized and more casual? E, extroverted. Do you thrive in social interaction or you prefer solitude because you are an introverted? Agreeable. Are you cooperative or you are more disagreeable? And neurotic. Are you more prone to stress and negative emotion versus you are emotionally stable? So these 5 traits have a huge impact on our life, on our work, on the relationship we build with others. So if you don't know your personality yet, you can simply go online. I'll give you the link at the end. You can understand your personality doing an online assessment. It's absolutely free. It's backed by science. And you can understand a bit more of your personality. I strongly suggest for you to do it as soon as possible. Ask everyone around you to do it, your parents, your partners, your friends, and so on, because it's a very good discovery. So these, you will get the percentages for each of these 5 dimensions. These are my results, for example. So as you can see, I'm pretty low in extroversion, which means I'm an introvert most of the time. As an introvert, if I have a choice between spending an evening with friends at the pub and having fun and noisy evening versus stay home, read a book by myself in solitude, I prefer to stay home. As an introvert in the office, if I have a morning full of meetings with lots of people, I always have to monitor my level of energy. In fact, if I have too many meetings with the colleagues or too many meetings with consultants, I prefer to have lunch by myself alone because I need to recharge and regenerate. Or sometimes I take a walk in the park just to balance. You see, understanding your personalities is extremely important because sometimes you need to balance, sometimes you need to recharge. Another dimension, neuroticism. I'm pretty low in neuroticism, which most of the time is a good thing, keeps you optimistic and positive. The downside of it, I sometimes overlook problems. I make problems too easy and simple to resolve, which sometimes can bring other sort of risks. Let's see another example. Let's say some of you is very low in agreeableness and very high in neuroticism. Well, that means that it's very difficult for you to trust others. Actually, it's very easy for you to pick up a fight and argue with everyone around you because your level of agreeableness is really low and your level of neuroticism is high, so you tend to see problems. You tend to see the negative side of things. There's nothing wrong with this. This may be your nature. But again, the important thing is be aware of. And when you are aware of your nature, you need to work on it. And if you are a leader, definitely you need to put some more effort on it to get better. So where personality comes from? So personality comes from the majority from your genetics, from your nature. This is your first nature, actually. So the first nature is about 40 to 50%. Then another big chunk is your environment, the environment you grew up, the conditions, the background. This is your second nature. But the most important aspect of personality is the evolving part, which is completely open for you to stretch and push and go beyond your nature. You see, sometimes when you have good intention to grow and develop, sometimes you need to play outside your character. Sometimes you need to play outside your personality, which is completely okay. Because again, this is the only way to learn and grow. But it's fundamental for you to understand your personality. Another important aspect of self-awareness is knowing your strengths and weaknesses. Well, at the end of the day, it's more important knowing your strengths and focusing on your strengths. So, but what is a strength, what is a weakness? So a strength is not what you are good at, and a weakness is not necessarily what you are bad at. Because very likely you are quite good at doing something you actually hate. For example, meeting minutes. Personally, I'm pretty good at taking notes and minutes. I'm pretty precise, but I hate it. If I can avoid doing minutes, perfect. I delegate to someone else because it's not something that gives me energy. So strength is actually what strengthens you. Those activities that gives you energy, those activities that you feel energized at the end, those activities you perform at your best. On the other side, weaknesses is what weakens you, is what drains you at the end of the activity. One way to discover your strengths is simply asking yourself, because you are the only reliable judge of your feelings. You are the only reliable judge of your psychological energy. And if you ask yourself, what are those activities I love doing? The one I really love diving and get lost in. And this is one way to assess it. Another powerful way to do it is with the character strength online surveys, which is created by the VIA Institute, which is actually has been created by the founders of positive psychology about 20 years ago. It's absolutely reliable, it's based on science, and I'll give you the link at the end. So basically you can very quickly, I think it takes 20 to 30 minutes to take, understand what are your strengths. And it goes in 24 different strengths. It gives you the rating from the top to the bottom. These are some examples. There are many others, and I leave it for you to discover. But basically, let's say, for example, the first one, love for learning. So if you are a learner, for example, and you understand what your strengths are, if you are a learner, you enjoy the process of doing something. You're not necessarily excited about the final goal, the purpose. You are more excited about the learning journey. You're more excited about acquiring new skills and develop. If you are a leader and a learner, well, you are very good for change and innovation. If you're leading people, a learner usually is very good for teaching and for mentoring. You see, understanding your strengths is fundamental because, again, you can base the relationship around you, the position of the job you do based on your strengths, which is the best way to, the most natural way to perform at your best. Another aspect, the final aspect of personality, of self-awareness, is reputation. Now, reputation is a very delicate topic because too many people misunderstand it. So, it's not who we are that determines what we do and how we do it, but it's the other way around. It's all about the impact of our behavior with the people around you. And by people, we mean people that matters in your professional environment. I mean, your peers, your bosses, your reports, your consultants, your clients, your potential clients. Your reputation is fundamental in a professional world. So it's very important to pay attention. It's very important to understand what other people say about you. So just to make it clear, two main aspects of ourselves: identity and reputation. So identity is how we see ourselves. Reputation is how others see us. So identity is fundamental for drive and for motivation in both life and work. In order to have a strong and articulated identity, you need to also understand your reputation. Because the problem is, if you are completely disconnected from reality, your identity tends to become too much idealistic. You need to be connected to reality, understand what others see in yourself. Because human beings are very poor in self-evaluation. I mean, on average, people tend to be better than whatever they are doing than others. But the problem is they are average. This is based on surveys. So men tend to be overestimating their skills. Women tend to underestimate their skills on average. So, but how do you know your reputation? What's the simplest way to get the reputation from people around you? So it's very simple. It's all about feedback. So you learn how people see you simply by asking feedback. There are two major ways, two methods to get feedback from people around you. One-to-one conversations or 360 feedback. So one-to-one conversation, you sit down with the person you would like to receive feedback from, and you ask about your performance in whatever aspect of your job is, maybe about leading people, about how I chair meetings, how I run a presentation, and so on. It's not simple. Asking someone to give you feedback is not absolutely simple. So you need to build psychological safety for them to be welcomed, for them to be listened, for them to be able to open and speak candidly. Because again, it's very rare that someone will come to you and will give you feedback, particularly if it's constructive. Another way to do it is 360 feedback, which is less intimate. You basically select a pool of people around you. It can be your peers, your bosses, your colleagues, your reports, and then you ask them to rate you or to write down feedback on the aspect of your performance you would like to receive feedback from. Again, it's less intimate and less direct than one-to-one conversations, but it's very, very effective. The thing is, once you get feedback, just accept it. Don't get into arguments. Don't start being defensive. Just listen and say thank you. Because receiving feedback from someone in your environment is a gift. Don't just try to think that it's someone trying to hurt you just because they want you to listen to what they have to say about yourself. Because remember, the most important thing is surround yourself with people that are not afraid to give you feedback. I remember years ago when I was leading a team for a big project, and I thought I was doing a great job as a team leader. But that was my point of view. So up to when someone in the team took the courage to come to me and say, look, I think you are a micromanager because you are too much into everything we are doing. So it wasn't easy to digest because, again, listening to someone's feedback, honest feedback, is difficult. It may not be easy. But at that time, I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I wanted to become a better leader. So I accepted the feedback and I acted upon the feedback. So I started giving more freedom, giving everyone more responsibility. And the result was a great success. The project delivery was great. Everyone grew. I grew. And again, I was extremely grateful for the feedback someone gave me. If you can, surround yourself with people that are not afraid to give you feedback, because that's the only way to grow and learn. Actually, it's the fastest way to learn. The thing is, it's not just a benefit for you. It is also a benefit for people around you, because if you act upon feedback and you improve your behavior, people around you will benefit from your improved behavior. So, as we said before, bad leadership is a public health hazard. So definitely listen carefully when someone is saying something about your leadership. So in summary, what have we learned now? Having a strong self-awareness is life-changing for you as a person, as a professional, as a leader. So accepting that we are not perfect, that we can only grow and develop, is an act of humility. Let's be humble. Pushing beyond your nature and go and push beyond your comfort zone and stretching outside your comfort zone is an act of courage. Let's be brave. So knowing yourself is your starting point. Once you really understand yourself, then you can understand people around you. Once you really figure out what makes you unique, what makes you different from others, therefore unique, then you can really appreciate the value of diversity. By becoming a self-aware leader, you can truly unlock the best in people around you. You can definitely help people express their own personality. You can help people focus on their strengths and their talents, and you can value their strengths and talents. You can lead a top-performing team by simply helping and inspiring others to unlock their full potential. This is the leader you can be when you seriously know yourself. Thank you.